let's just check this out. Let's see how it goes, because Battlefield was a good game.
EA just
I played the
technically
first one when
revealed
it
their
first came
next
out. I haven't
Battlefield
really
game
played
in
much
a
of any of them
roundabout
since
way
then.
with a not-so-focused
buddy.
trailer showcasing some gameplay, Battlefield 3 trailer music blasting, and a
That's really good
classic dirty
graphics,
street
dude. We've
fighting
come a
scene
long
with
way.
destruction being at the forefront. Oh yeah, and the
Wow.
trailer is trying to focus on a thing called Battlefield Labs that's basically CTE coming back. Let's talk about everything that we know.
Okay.
So firstly, I got invited to see this trailer last week under heavy NDA, and aside from being able to collect my thoughts about it before making this video, I was also able to ask some questions behind the scenes. Naturally, EA is pretty tight-lipped about any info they're giving out, but I was able to confirm that destruction seems to be a major focus of the
trailer
next
clips
title.
right
We even
now,
get to
so
see
I
a
don't
little
really
clip
know.
during this trailer showcasing some more granular destruction of a building's structural supports. Nothing awe-inducing, but it did look like it was a level beyond what we've seen in the past. The gameplay destruction shows building facades coming down just like
Didn't they
did
used
in
to have
Battlefield.
like games where like you could completely destroy every single thing in the game? What was it? Mercenaries, where you could order a nuke on your phone and actually like drop basically a bunker buster, but it like had this massive implosion and you could blow up entire buildings. This is on Xbox original. This is from like the 2000s.
Battlefield 3, and the fact that Battlefield 3 trailer music is blasting while we see this gameplay is a very intentional nod to the golden era of Battlefield. Now, the new Battlefield Labs test environment for the game, which is technically the focus of this trailer, will be available for, as far as I know, almost anyone to sign up for, but the seats will be limited, and anything that you get...
I wonder if they're going to rip off of Call of Duty and have like a Warzone style thing for Battlefield. I mean, it's kind of like all they have to do is put the little gas thing in and have the circle go down. It's basically the same game, though, and then maybe airdrop them in. But other than that, it's basically what the game is already.
Get to experience will be under NDA, so no sharing footage or talking about the experience publicly. And I'm sure that nobody will leak any footage anywhere on the internet. But maybe EA is already anticipating some of these leaks, and it could be intentional. I'll talk about that more in a little bit.
Now, I think that if you don't leak a little bit of stuff about your game, leak some stuff, then you're really missing out on some of the hype that you can give people for free.
Now, Battlefield Labs is basically a rebranding of Battlefield CTE, aka Community Test Environment, which
I think my streaming bit rate is set to, what is it? 4,000? I think it was at like 9,000 and I did 4,000. Yeah.
Employed during Battlefield 4 to get feedback before releasing new content. This time around, they're starting with pre-alpha testing with the indication that it'll give them more times to make meaningful changes before the game comes out. Now, as for the extremely limited gameplay footage that we get at the end of this trailer, we can deduce a few things. Firstly, the map looks very familiar. It could be a remake of Strike at Karkand or Grand Bazaar, two very popular maps from the BF3 era and other titles
Honestly,
as well.
If you're not making maps that were in previous games that people really, really liked, you're really messing up. That's one thing I liked about Halo, is that they remade a lot of the best maps that everybody wanted to play. And then they added maps that would be in future games remade. Guardian, amazing map. I believe it got remade. I don't remember. Lockout and Blackout, amazing. Zanzibar, Last Resort, great combination there. We loved those. We love those. Blood Gulch, that was a good one. That was a great map, iconic. And if you don't remake maps, then you're not making your game right, because people want to play the old stuff. Honestly, if you just kind of like upgrade old games, people will be more likely to play them. I honestly don't play that many games because a lot of them are just a newer version of an older game that I've already basically played and ran through so much that I don't want to play the same game again and then just have to start from the beginning.
Stylistically, it looks a lot like Karkand, but some of the alleyways...
You're talking to somebody who like has played Oblivion like 18 to 20 different runs and playthroughs. Like legitimately, that's probably the amount. I'm not over exaggerating that. And like somebody who likes to replay games from time to time, Knights of the Old Republic, for example, fantastic game. I still replay that about once a year. It's been out for about like 18 years. So I probably played it about 18 times. I would say about once a year, I replay through like 4 or 5 different games unless I go on some kind of World of Warcraft trip, and, God, I can't do that again.
It's reminded me a bit more of Bazaar. Strike It Karkand, in my opinion, is the smarter map to tease since it's such a favorite among veteran players from Battlefield 2 and the Battlefield 3 era. And the gameplay also looked extremely classic,
It
very
does look
boots on
really
the
good
ground, not
gameplay.
heavily drenched in future tech. We see the standard assault rifle and EOTech sight on it, a desert tan Abrams driving down the streets of a Middle Eastern looking city. Throw some ugly blue tint on there and you can almost imagine that it's Battlefield 3. The lighting and shaders
Oh,
do
yeah.
look amazing. DICE
They do
tends to
look
do
great,
well
yeah.
here, but 2042 could be argued as a step back in some regards. This, however, looks like it's pushing forward. The
I
environment
would
has
play
more
it.
nuanced debris
I
than
probably
we've
wouldn't
seen
love it,
before.
but I'd play it,
Containers of
you know?
soda getting knocked all over the place is a bit more dense than previous games. And then, of course, we get to see the classic rebel drop of the building facades, which isn't
It
new
looks
to the
good.
franchise, but it
I wonder
did
if it
look
causes
really
damage.
high fidelity. I think the most surprising thing about this type of announcement, reveal, if you will, for essentially the next Battlefield game is that it's not really a trailer for the game, nor does it contain much information. It's promoting Battlefield Labs, which, to be honest, EA doesn't really need to promote. They'll certainly get enough signups for it. This feels more like damage control. An attempt to reassure the community that they are giving the
Excuse
devs
me.
the time they need and they're starting player testing early so that they can build the game with our feedback in mind. The video
Yeah.
was front loaded with all the big names in Battlefield, at least the ones that are still at DICE, dropping some marketing spiel about giving the devs the time they need to hone their craft. They talked about 4 different studios working on the game from all around the world. They confirmed that the
Okay.
campaign is back.
That might not be that great of an idea. I mean, I know that we're in a world where basically half of your day is spent in some kind of video chat or call for meetings at work, but like I think that like being able to go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, you didn't program that right. What's going on here? Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Let's work on it together. Eyes on." Like collaboration is key for these kinds of things, and I just don't think that you're going to get that from having multiple like why would you? Why wouldn't you just like put them all in the same building? Like why not? Why do you have to have them across in different worlds unless there's some kind of thing I don't know? If there's something I don't know about that, please let me know. I'd like to learn. Put it in
And
the
it's
comments.
driving a bigger cinematic experience than we've seen before. We see some familiar faces like David Serland being
Never
back,
seen his
though
face
we
before.
technically knew that he was back at DICE. It's just nice to see him on camera. He left the studio a while back, right when DICE was really screwing things up, so who can blame him? But David was a key player in making many of the best Battlefield games we remember, so it's encouraging to see him back on board in a producer's role. Now, the
Shocking that it was the same thing with Bungie with Halo, where the first 3 games were great, and then after 343 took over and all of these studio changes were made, the game started to suck. And so it's really cool to see some original developers coming back and producing these games. So we get a little bit of the flavor that we had missed from previous games. And maybe if they're in a position of power, they have enough power to tell idiots to shut up and leave if they're not producing good quality ideas. Like a safeguard.
The marketing term Battlefield Universe was once again thrown around, and then the rest of the video was more or less generalized talk about doing something amazing, giving the devs time to do it, and the importance of testing and getting feedback from the player base. AKA, we're sorry we screwed up the franchise so horribly, please come back and we're going to do it right this time.
Exactly.
And maybe
That's
they will.
exactly right.
A lot of people quit DICE, they were fired from DICE, there's new leadership throughout the ranks. Vince Zampella is helming the entire project, and I'm sure he's not putting his stellar reputation on the line without making sure something good is going to come from it. Obviously, I'm rooting for the next Battlefield game to be a great one, and there are a lot of factors indicating that the right people are on board. That said, it's tough to get excited about a trailer for a closed and probably
not a
very
trailer,
limited
really.
playtest. So it might leave some of you scratching your head as to why this is kind of the way that DICE is revealing the next game. If I were strategizing the marketing plan for this game, I would also want to do an apology video first. We're doing things right this time, guys, we promise. Then they start those quote-unquote
You're
closed
gonna get an
play
apology?
tests. Those will
That implies that they
inevitably
take
leak footage
accountability
and
for the
opinions of the
bullshit.
game. If the game's actually good, then the community will start building hype for the next Battlefield game. Have you seen the leaked footage of gameplay? Did you hear they said it's actually really good? That kind of talk could easily start spreading around the community,
Yeah.
building up a more
Let's
natural
let the community decide whether or not it's a good game, because honestly, you're going to be biased if you're in there producing the game. So why don't you let the community decide that? And honestly, if it's come that far where they have to like hype up their own game, and the problem is that that's where the letdowns come in. That's where the letdown comes in, because now you're raising expectations that it is going to be good, so the standards are going to be higher. Say nothing, and then let the gamers decide whether or not it's good.
turn of opinion for the franchise.
It's like me creating a dish in the kitchen and being all like, my food's the best. My food's really good. I tasted it. I should know. No. The customer decides whether or not your food's good.
Franchise. Then you drop the hype trailer right in the middle of everybody talking about how good the playtest is, and now you've got a nice setup for actually building some genuine hype for the game. Imagine if they just dropped a hype trailer out of nowhere, then everyone goes, well, Battlefield 2042 also looked really cool in the trailer, but we all saw what happened with that one. So
I will give them that.
Can change
they
that
can make a hell of a good
the hype
trailer.
trailer drops, then it gives them the best chance to avoid what could easily turn into a bunch of backlash. If this marketing strategy is in fact intentional, then it's encouraging, because historically, not always, but often when the marketing for a Battlefield game was poor, like say Battlefield 5, it also didn't bode well for the quality of the game at launch. There was some correlation there. When the marketing was insanely crazy good, like say Battlefield 1, the game was also pretty darn epic at launch as well. Again, this is
I really wish they would just go
but
linear or make it make sense, because like Battlefield 1 isn't actually the first Battlefield, right? I don't know.
Silver linings here. The next Battlefield game has not shown anything yet that I would consider to be epic, but the leadership seems to be showing some intelligence and knowing how to ease back into the good graces of the community. Do it slowly, don't expect the hype to begin with, earn the players' respect, and then go in guns blazing. I'm still not entirely sure what this whole Battlefield universe is going to be, but I do hope that while they're focused on getting back to the basics and using our Battlefield 3 nostalgia to turn our heads, that they're also looking to innovate. The Battlefield franchise is classic, arguably an old-fashioned and kind of dying way of playing multiplayer games. A while back I made a detailed video talking about ways of evolving this classic formula to be more competitive in the modern gaming sphere without losing the magic of what makes a good Battlefield game. And while I doubt DICE is following any of my ideas specifically, I do hope they are taking some risks and not just playing it safe. Those are some of the bigger details I am more curious about. How are they evolving the franchise and not just rehashing the same old notes from before? I'd love to hear your thoughts about the next Battlefield reveal-ish video and what you make of it. Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like and subscribe for more content like it. Also, if you want to see,
I kind of wish this video had gone a little bit more into the them actually talking about the things, and me hearing the game developers and what they thought about it and what they were trying to get excited about. But like, you know, I get it. You're just going to replay like what little clips that you have in a video, and then you're going to discuss what little you actually know about it the whole time. But yeah, like, honestly, I think that it's basically just more of the same. And I really wish that they had a little bit more of the core stuff that people liked, and they've built the game around the core stuff people liked. They started with the things that they know the people were here for, and then they molded the game around that, and that might be a good place to start, don't you think? I mean, I think so. I think that'd be great, you know?